Okay, so let's head on over to Pascal. Minimize this, which I'm going to close up first. There we go. Minimize that. Let's get Pascal back on the screen. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to initialize those 4 variables. Let's take a look at them. There you go. We're going to do this flowchart or this pseudocode in Pascal now. So I am here in the program. Remember, I can't use the mouse. I can point at things with the mouse, but that's only because it's part of Windows. This is a separate system altogether, so I can't use the mouse to move to the end of the line. So I'm going to the end of the line. I've got to declare my variables. Now, name was the next one, and that variable is of type string. Now notice I didn't put a capital S in this one. String is a recognized data type, and it's lowercase s. Then I had pi. Now pi was float in Java, but that gave us a problem and we had to call it a double. Double has a different meaning in Pascal. It's like a double integer. In Pascal we need the word real to be a decimal number. And finally valid was a Boolean value. So if I do valid, it's a Boolean value. So again, I've got my variable names with a colon and then the data type following them. This is why learning these languages is probably good for your exam, because when you are questioned about different data types in your exam, you will have some idea of what they mean, whereas if you just stick to Python, you'll never see these written out, and that will be a bit awkward. So let's do the setting. Now notice I had to declare them at the top. I couldn't initialize them here. In other words, set x equal to 3. I have to initialize them in my program. So my program starts at the word begin. That matches the start in the flowchart. So name equals Bob, semicolon to end the line. Pi equals 3.1 semicolon, and valid equals false semicolon. Now it's been a long time since I've done Pascal, so I'm hoping that that is the correct term and not a capital letter. I do think it is. So I'm going to save my file, F2, and then I'm going to compile it, and if there are any errors, whoops, I will get to fix the errors, compile it. Again, yes, I need to put the assignment operator in for each one of these. Right, save it and then compile it. Now I'm choosing to use the menus rather than the shortcuts so that you can see what's happening. Now before, when I saved it, I had a little bit of a problem, because when I looked at my values in Notepad, and I can't see Notepad open here, so I'm not really going to worry about it too much. It was because when I compiled, I only compiled in memory. I didn't write the new file to the disk. I actually have to come down here and change that to disk so that it writes a new file to the disk. So it's a sort of final version that you would release to people who want your program. So make as well is like compiling, but it doesn't it just links loads of files together, as does build. So all these three things are called compiling, but the end result that we want, which is a program which works, is by compiling by pressing Alt and F9. I'm just going to select enter. Oh, and I've made a syntax error. Now I've got a feeling that this is because it's single quote marks. Oops. Done it again. There we go. So a string in Pascal is enclosed in single quote marks, not double ones. If you use double ones, you get a syntax error. In single quote marks, I think they're a data type called character. And I'm going to add character, although it was not in my design. If you remember from the specification, if we go and have a look at the specification, one of the things that we needed to do was character and a string. Well, there's no such thing as character in Python. It only deals with strings. And a character means one letter or one item from that you can type from the keyboard, an @ symbol, a hash, anything. It's just one. And if you try to assign it to things like a hash and a question mark, you'll receive an error. Python just happily accepts that. It calls it a string, but other languages don't. So Pascal is one of those that doesn't. So I'm going to try and show you that now. It's got its own data type. So if I come up to here and do my char is of type character, and then at the bottom, if I set this my char equals, and I do believe I may need to use the double quote marks for it. As I said, it's been a long time since I programmed in this, so you'll have to, yeah, oh, I've done it again. You'll have to bear with me on simple mistakes. That is unforgivable, keep getting that one wrong. And that one. Yeah, it's single quote. There is no such thing as double quote marks in Pascal. There we go. Now, if I decided here to, and this is just a proof, if I wanted to put Bob as my char, that is going to give me an error because name is a string consisting of many characters, and my char is a character consisting of just one single one. So this will not work at all. The compiler should pick it up. I've done that again. The compiler should pick it up and inform me that I can't do that. And there we go. I've got a type mismatch. In other words, that is a character consisting of a single letter. That is a string consisting of 0 or more letters. So they're not the same thing. So we have to be careful. But that is in the specification. You need to learn that. But it doesn't exist. Let's take this out. It does not exist in Python. But we'll have a look at that a bit later on if you want to try and learn how to program in Pascal or Delphi or Java or other languages. So let's just save this, compile it to know that we're still fine, and then we'll move on to Delphi.